guys, it's Rach. Today I wanted to talk about spring summer makeup trends for 2015. I recently went to a presentation where MAC went through all of the things that they think are going to be spring and summer trends for this year. Now they generally work to, as well as the rest of the world, Northern Hemisphere spring summer, so they've recently had a whole heap of shows that showcase spring summer clothing for the coming spring summer in the Northern Hemisphere. We are already in spring / we're actually already in summer down here in the Southern Hemisphere, so these things you could certainly apply to your makeup now, and we tend to still use a lot of those trends in our autumn winter even though they're meant to be for spring and summer. So basically they're just upcoming makeup trends as forecasted by MAC. A lot of these things that they talk about have been used in a lot of runway shows and things like that. So they often were talking about trends and things that they saw that weren't necessarily things that would be wearable for the everyday, but I took some notes and kind of thought about it in ways that things that you can apply to your makeup for every day or for when you're trying out new different things. I also have a little bit of a haul of a few different products that we received, and if you stick around right to the very end, then there also may be a little bit of a giveaway as well. So Nicole Thompson and Carol Mackey, who are two of the senior artists at MAC, went through the 4 different trends that they had kind of, or that MAC has predicting for the spring summer. There was no makeup, enlightened, free party and review. They were the 4 kind of topics that they had, and they went through those. They also did some demonstrations on some models. They showed us some pictures of looks that they'd actually used on runway shows. Have a little bit of sort of stuff here that you guys can see in terms of the different makeup trends and what different runway shows that they were used at. We also received this gorgeous book, which I didn't even know that they did, that basically has some, goes through the products that were used for each of the looks and highlights them, and it tells you how to recreate them. Some gorgeous photography. I'm really looking forward to going through this book in greater detail. So starting off first with the no makeup trend. So this was really looking at paring everything back. I just have my phone here with the notes that I wrote down, but they talked about using maybe concealer and a fluffy brush just to really spread out that product rather than using a foundation. Choosing what you leave bare, so covering up sort of where you need but leaving the rest of the skin bare. So you can apply your sort of foundation to the center of your face, and if the rest of your face is fine and doesn't really need any kind of perfecting, or is just doesn't have blemishes or things like that, then you don't need to apply product over the top of that. Talking about cheeks in warm colors and actually taking the color all the way across the cheek, bringing it into the nose to look more like a flush. So oftentimes we talk about applying blush and we apply it just sort of to the outer part of the cheeks. They actually showed photos of using it all the way in, and it did give you a very youthful look, and it did look really natural. I quite liked that idea. Putting a key emphasis on skincare and skin prep rather than the actual makeup themselves. They talked about adding freckles, and this was one that I really quite enjoyed and something that I'm looking forward to trying. And talking about adding freckles on top of your makeup to give the illusion that you're wearing less makeup. Sounds ridiculous, right? You're applying makeup and then you're applying more makeup on top of that, and it's supposed to look like less makeup. But it actually makes sense, because if you can see freckles through your makeup, or if you can see freckles, then you assume that they're either wearing a sheer foundation or no foundation. And I tried it on myself, and it does actually make you, it looks youthful and it looks natural, because seeing those freckles makes it look like you have less makeup. I wouldn't have thought of that until somebody pointed it out, but now that they have, it makes perfect sense, and I really liked that one. They showed using, they showed a model where they put freckles all over her face and her body, and they looked real, and then they sort of took it off and you just realized that they weren't natural. I never would have guessed. They also mentioned using lip pencils to create the freckles rather than like eyebrow pencils or eye pencils. They mentioned stone, cork and chestnut lip pencil from MAC for freckles, which if that's something that you want to try, I think it's awesome. Go for it, give it a go. I think that that's actually a really fun way to try something new with makeup. For free party, this was the trend that I thought was probably the least applicable to everyday makeup, or maybe review. Review and Free Party were both kind of interesting. Free Party was talking about having freedom and having no rules when it comes to makeup, using different products for different things, or not where you would expect to use them. They also talked about mixing in white with colours to give you a bright pastel shade, and I was actually quite impressed with, they mixed like a white pigment with a like a green eyeshadow or a blue eyeshadow, and I thought that that would just dull out the colour, but it didn't. Instead it made the colour still bright and still vibrant, but have a pastel look to it, and it looked very, very pretty. I think that's a fun way if you want to try and use the makeup that you've got but maybe change the way it looks. Maybe invest in a white pigment and mix it together with some of your other eyeshadows. They talked about mixing tones that don't usually go together, mixing colours that don't usually go together, using blue and green, even though they're supposed to be never be seen together. You can do that with your makeup now. They also talked about moving in towards more gold tone metallics. Apparently we've kind of had more rose gold and coppery shades, moving towards more gold toned metallics. Now, I still love my rose gold, but it's something to think about. For review, this one was an interesting one. This one talked about using eyeliner in a really free way, like literally having sort of almost a messy look to graphic liner. That one I couldn't necessarily see myself doing it in that particular way before, but they talked also about clumpy mascara. Clumpy mascara not only being a thing but being a trend and having it look good. Layering on mascara, not just using one mascara but sandwiching different mascaras together to get what you want. Use a lengthening mascara and a volumizing mascara, and that's something that I've done a lot over the years, and I definitely think it's worth it. They even showed like going through and actually using tweezers on the tips of your lashes to almost clump some together, and it made the point very defined and actually almost made your eyes stand out more. It's kind of crazy, but it worked. They talked about going for really interesting lash looks, and when you're using fake lashes, to chop them up, sandwich them together with other ones, mix and match to make an interesting, unique look for you. And they'd actually taken some lashes that had, you know how you get lashes with like, they're a full band lash but they have sort of clumps, and then there's a gap and clumps, gaps and clumps. Chop those up and apply them individually, and that way they're actually easier to apply, and you can sort of choose how you want the lashes to sit. If you want them to sit more on the outside, sort of more and towards the center, you can make it work for you. And I thought that that was a really good idea and some great advice. They also talked about using different coloured eyeliners, not just blacks, trying out different things, and I really like that. I know that I can't remember which Pixie Woo sister did, but one of them did a look kind of talking about some of these trends, and used a really thin line of like I think it was like a green eyeliner. It looked awesome. Definitely something to try out. If you want to try a colour, don't feel like it has to be a really thick line or that it has to be really obvious. If you do a really thin line right next to your lashes, you'd be surprised. It's not overtly obvious, but it can change the look of your eye or make your eye colour look different. And I think that's a really cool way to play on this trend without being over the top. Floating liner, so almost doing like a bit of eyeliner in your crease, having it float, which I think is a little bit more out there, but it might be something that you would like to try. And then the last trend was enlightened, and this one was talking about white light. It kind of had a futuristic vibe, but in the here and now. And this one I really quite liked. It talked about bringing back matte skin, but matte skin can be matte without being heavy. So not getting confused with thinking that you have to have a really sort of thick, heavy layer of really mattified foundation. That you can use just a foundation that has a matte finish, really light layers, and build it up, and then you can apply dewiness and highlight where you need to. And it made sense because she was talking about everybody wants this glowy look, but it doesn't last because you put on a glowy foundation and then you put more glowy products on top of that, and you find that it's melted off your face by like the end of the day, usually within a couple of hours for me if you have oily skin. But instead you can go for a matte foundation. You can actually even set your makeup with powder and still have that glowy look by just strategically placing different products to create areas of lightness. Talked about, like I said, using layers. They also talked about using concealer to pare back your brow a bit and to make it lighter, and they showed this in the extreme for the catwalk, but that you could also look at doing that, and it actually makes your eyes stand out more. Not something that necessarily I would probably try, but you could look at using like lighter color brow products just so they're still filled in and they're still there and they can still have texture, but they don't quite stand out as much. There's talked about potential of using white mascara, again more of a catwalk trend, but it's an option. Using gloss in particular to add strategic shine to matte skin, and they actually have this really cool glossy product which I'm going to show in a haul, and a couple of them are actually coming out in as part of the Cinderella collection, which is launching for MAC in February, March, depending on where you are, so look out for those because I think they're really cool products. Also using vanilla pigment, which is like, it has a satin finish on the skin to almost give you like a glossy look but with a dry pigment, and I think vanilla pigment is a great product from MAC. It's one of my favorites, so worth investing in. And then they talked at looking at lip colors having soft blended edges. They could be brighter colors, they could be reds, oranges, candy pinks, but not having that really sharp line with the concealer, like having them sort of just blended out, blending them in with your finger, using your lipsticks more as a stain rather than as a full-on heavy lipstick. So they were some of the things that they talked about. For me, the key ones, I like the freckles, I like the idea of the matte skin and applying highlight in strategic areas, the idea of layering mascaras and chopping up your lashes and going for more unique looks rather than thinking that you just have to use the lash how you receive it in the box. Playing around with that was cool. I like the idea of the freedom of makeup, of mixing different colors and just playing around with it. Overall, I think that these trends are definitely things that a lot of us probably already do, but it's nice to sort of hear about what's coming and what's going to be in. As for the products, the first one that you may have seen, because I kind of showed it in when I showed the book, is this little set here of cheek and lip colors. It's the Trend Forecast Spring 15 Lip and Cheek Palette. We have some gorgeous colors here. So these are the kind of colors that we're kind of looking at for the spring and summer now for us and for others in a couple of months' time. Really, really gorgeous shades. I love this palette. I think they're beautiful. The next item that I have here is, like I said, one of those studio eye glosses. Now this is a very weird product. It is extremely tacky and sticky. It's kind of like a viscose product. If you use this as a base, nothing's going to move. You could put glitter or something on the top of that and it's not going anywhere. This one I have in the shade Madoc, I think is how you pronounce it. There's also Lightly Tauped, which is the one that I think that they used, and it was kind of like a light kind of brown colour that could use on the eyes, and it almost looked like skin but like you had a wet lid, or you could use it on your cheeks as well. There was sort of a blackened shade and maybe one other, but really, really cool product. I can't wait to use it. This colour is awesome coming into the autumn winter. It's just such a fun colour, and like I'd mentioned, the Lightly Tauped shade and a pearl one is coming out as part of the Cinderella collection. I think that that's a great product. They're going to be limited edition packaging, but definitely worth getting your hands on if you're looking for something new, something that you don't already have in your collection. I also received the Casual Colour Lip and Cheek Colour. This one's in Weekend Getaway. It's really just pretty bright pink shade, kind of mid-toned pink. I have the MAC Studio Conceal and Correct Duo. This one is in I think the light shade. It has pale yellow and pale pink on it. So again, this kind of goes into that no makeup trend where you're using concealers and other products to basically just perfect where you need it and then just leave the rest of your skin natural. So you have the yellow for brightening, you also have the pink here to correct any dark circles or purple tones on your skin. I'm really looking forward to playing around with that a little bit more, and I'm happy that this is my actual colour. Also, to go with that enlightened trend, I have the Perfect Topping Mineralize Skinfinish. This is a gorgeous highlight shade. And then the last thing that I received was a MAC Viva Glam lipstick. This one is in Viva Glam Miley. These are the ones where the sale goes to help with AIDS treatment, AIDS prevention, things like that. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous bright pink colour. one of probably my favourite limited edition Viva Glam releases. I find that a lot of those aren't super wearable. I have Viva Glam Cindy, which I quite liked, which was a red shade, but this Miley one, I just think that that would be absolutely gorgeous for spring and summer. Such a fun, bright lip colour. I mentioned at the start that I was going to do a little mini giveaway. I did receive a second Trends Forecast Spring lip and cheek palette, and I already have the Perfect Topping Mineralize Skin Finish, so I thought that I could give away these two as a little prize just to say thank you to you guys for watching my videos, and a way to sort of share the spring summer makeup trends with you guys at home. So if you would like to enter, I'll have what you need to do in the description box below. You will need to be a subscriber to my channel, and you will need your parents' permission to enter if you're underage. It will be open internationally. Like I said, I'll put all the other details in the description box below. Check it out if you would like to enter. And other than that, let me know what are some makeup trends that you've seen recently and that you would like to incorporate in your own makeup, or things that you don't particularly like and you see it as becoming a trend. I'd love to hear from you. I'll talk to you guys all later. Bye!
She dreams